You're standing in a store. Maybe it's a mall. Maybe it's online at 11 p.m. when your willpower is basically non-existent. And there it is. The thing. Could be a jacket. Could be the latest phone. Could be a couch you don't need, but suddenly can't imagine living without. And your brain does this thing where it starts negotiating with you. It's only $300. You worked hard this week. You deserve it. It's basically on sale. And before you even realize what's happening, you've already talked yourself into it. Sound familiar? Here's the thing nobody tells you about that moment. The problem isn't that you bought it. The problem is that you were doing the math wrong. Not because you're bad with money, but because nobody ever showed you the right way to calculate what something actually costs. My name is Sachi, and I make videos about the money stuff that should have been taught in school, but wasn't. If you've ever bought something and felt that weird mix of excitement and regret, 20 minutes later, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because what I'm about to show you is going to permanently change the way you look at every single purchase you make for the rest of your life. Now, before I explain the $1,000 rule, I need to ask you something. When you see a price tag, what number do you actually see? Most people see the sticker price. $300, $85, $19.99. That's the number the store wants you to focus on. It's the number designed to feel manageable. Designed to feel like a decision you can make right now, without thinking too hard about it. But here's what you're not seeing. That price tag is only telling you half the story. Actually, it's telling you less than half, because the sticker price is just the entry fee. It's not the real cost. And this is where the $1,000 rule comes in. The concept is simple, but the implications will mess with your head in the best possible way. Here it is. Before you buy anything that isn't a basic necessity, ask yourself one question. What could this $1,000 become? Wait, but the thing I'm buying isn't $1,000, you might be thinking. And that's exactly the point. The $1,000 rule isn't about only applying this thinking to purchases over $1,000. It's about training your brain to automatically convert any purchase into its future value equivalent. Because that $300 jacket, over 10 years, invested at a modest 8% return, that's not $300. That's closer to $648. That weekend trip you put on a credit card for $800. That's not $800. That's $1,728 in a decade. Every dollar you spend today has a future value. And most people are making $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 decisions without ever realizing it. Let me show you exactly how this works in real life. Think about the last time you upgraded your phone before your current one actually stopped working. Maybe your contract was up. Maybe the new model had a slightly better camera. Maybe you just wanted something new. A typical phone upgrade costs somewhere between $800 and $1,200 depending on the brand. Let's call it $1,000 even. At 8% annual growth over 10 years, that $1,000 becomes $2,159. Over 20 years, $4,661. Over 30 years, $10,062. You didn't just spend $1,000 on a phone. You spent $10,000 of future wealth on a phone that will be obsolete in 3 years. And here's the brutal part. You probably upgraded again 2 years later. And 2 years after that, the average American upgrades their phone every 2.5 years. That's potentially 4 or 5 of these decisions per decade. Each one quietly erasing thousands of dollars from your financial future while you're busy taking pictures of your lunch. Now, I'm not saying never buy a new phone. That's not the point. The point is that almost nobody is making that decision with the full picture in front of them. They're seeing $1,000. They should be seeing $10,000. This is the entire psychology behind why the $1,000 rule works. It doesn't tell you what to buy or what not to buy. It just forces you to see the real number. And once you start seeing the real number, you can never unsee it. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the $1,000 rule doesn't just change how you see big purchases, it changes how you see the small ones too. And this is where most people completely underestimate the impact. Let's talk about the daily coffee. Yes, I know. You've heard the avocado toast lecture 100 times, and you're already rolling your eyes. Stick with me, because this is different. The argument you usually hear is, stop buying coffee and save $5 a day. And your response, which is completely reasonable, is, that's $150 a month. That's not going to make me rich. And you're right. $150 a month is not going to make you rich. But that's not what the $1,000 rule is saying. The $1,000 rule isn't about the $5 coffee. It's about the habit the $5 coffee represents. Because nobody stops at one daily coffee. There's the coffee. Then there's the snack you grabbed while you were there. Then there's the lunch out because you didn't meal prep. Then there's the drinks Friday night because you had a long week. Then there's the online order Saturday morning because you were hungover and couldn't cook. These aren't individual purchases. They're a spending identity. And that identity, across an average month, doesn't cost $150. It costs closer to $600 or $800, or sometimes more than $1,000. Every single month. Now run that through the $1,000 rule, $800 a month, invested at 8%, over 20 years. That's not $192,000. That's $566,000. $500,000. Not from some dramatic life overhaul. From plugging the slow, invisible leak in your spending that you'd gotten so used to, you stopped noticing it. Here's something that most finance channels won't say out loud, because it sounds harsh. The reason most people feel like they can never get ahead isn't because they don't make enough money. It's because they're hemorrhaging money in amounts too small to feel painful individually, but devastating in aggregate. $10 here, $25 there. A subscription you forgot about. An upgrade you didn't need. A delivery fee you accepted without thinking. None of these feel like problems. Together, they are the problem. The $1,000 rule forces you to stop evaluating purchases in isolation and start seeing the full pattern. But let's go deeper, because there's a second layer to this rule that most people miss. And honestly, it might be more powerful than the first. It's called the hourly cost conversion. Here's how it works. Take whatever you earn per hour after tax. Let's say you take home $25 an hour. Now, every time you're about to buy something, divide the price by your hourly rate. That $300 jacket isn't $300. It's 12 hours of your life. It's a day and a half of sitting at a desk, answering emails, dealing with your boss, commuting through traffic, doing whatever it is you do to earn money. Is this jacket worth a day and a half of your life? Sometimes the answer is yes. Genuinely, yes. Something that brings you real joy or serves a real purpose absolutely can be worth it. But when you frame it that way, when you translate money back into time, the calculation feels completely different. That $85 dinner out on a Tuesday because you were too tired to cook. That's 3.5 hours of your life, the impulsive $500 weekend getaway. That's 20 hours, a full work week of your time, gone. Now here's the thing about this that's actually liberating, not depressing. Because the people who use this rule consistently don't end up miserable and deprived. They end up more intentional. They still spend money. They still enjoy things. But they stop spending on things they don't actually care about, which frees up an enormous amount of money for the things they genuinely do care about. Think about the last 10 purchases you made. Not groceries, not rent. The discretionary stuff. How many of those would you still buy if you'd done the hourly conversion first? If you're being honest with yourself, probably not all of them. Maybe not even half. That's not a judgment. That's just how human psychology works. We are wired to respond to price tags in the moment. We are not wired to naturally calculate future value or time equivalence. The $1,000 rule is just a tool to give your rational brain a fighting chance against your emotional brain, which, by the way, is extremely good at justifying purchases it has already decided to make. Let's talk about something called lifestyle creep, because the $1,000 rule is probably most powerful when applied here. Lifestyle creep is what happens when your income goes up and your spending quietly rises to match it. You get a raise. Suddenly you're eating out a little more. You upgrade your apartment. You start buying the nicer version of things. None of these individual decisions feel reckless. Each one feels earned, reasonable, normal. And they are normal. But normal is how most people end up with the same bank balance at 45 that they had at 28, despite earning 3 times as much. Here's a real scenario. Someone is making $50,000 a year. They get promoted, and now they're making $70,000. That extra $20,000 before tax works out to roughly $1,200 or $1,300 extra per month after tax, depending on where they live. The financially dangerous move, which is also the statistically most common move, is to let that money dissolve into a slightly nicer lifestyle. Nicer car, nicer apartment, more eating out, more weekend trips, more stuff. Run that $1,200 through the $1,000 rule. $1,200 a month, invested at 8%, over 25 years. That's $1,140,000. $1 million. Not from a windfall, not from a lucky investment. From simply not upgrading your lifestyle every time your income goes up. From treating the difference between what you earn and what you used to earn as untouchable. This is the actual secret behind how regular people with regular salaries build real wealth. Not some special investment strategy. Not some side hustle that takes over their life. Just the discipline to let income growth outpace lifestyle growth. And the $1,000 rule is the mental tool that makes that discipline feel less like suffering and more like strategy. Now let's address the thing you might be thinking right now, because I can already hear it. Sachi, this sounds exhausting. Am I supposed to run every single purchase through a compound interest calculator for the rest of my life? No, absolutely not. That would be a miserable way to live, and it would also miss the point entirely. Here's how the $1,000 rule actually works in practice once you've internalized it. You don't calculate every purchase. You use it as a gut check for anything that feels like it might be an impulse. Anything that's not a planned expense. Anything that your emotional brain is trying to wave through before your rational brain can object. The rule has 3 simple questions. 1. Do I actually need this, or do I just want it right now? 2. If I convert this to future value, am I okay with what I'm trading? 3. Is there a version of this that costs significantly less and does the same job? That's it. 3 questions. Takes about 30 seconds. And the answer isn't always no. Sometimes you run through those 3 questions, and the answer is genuinely yes, this is worth it. Buy it. Enjoy it. Move on without guilt. The goal is never to stop spending. The goal is to stop spending unconsciously. Because unconscious spending is where wealth goes to die. Not in dramatic, obvious ways, in small, forgettable ways. The subscription that auto-renewed 6 months after you stopped using it. The gym membership that felt motivating in January. The upgraded data plan you switched to because it was only $10 more per month. Individually meaningless. Collectively, they are the reason so many people hit their late 30s and realize they've been earning good money for a decade and somehow have almost nothing to show for it. That realization is one of the most disorienting feelings in adult life. Because you didn't blow your money on anything dramatic. There was no single catastrophic decision. It just quietly disappeared into the gap between what you earned and what you actually needed. The $1,000 rule closes that gap. Not by making you cheap, by making you conscious. And here's the part that most people don't expect when they start using this rule. It doesn't just change your spending, it changes your earning. When you start seeing the future value of every dollar you keep, you also start seeing the future value of every dollar you earn. Which means you start caring deeply about how much you're actually making. People who are unconscious about spending are usually also unconscious about their income. They accept the salary they're given. They don't negotiate raises. They don't think about whether their skills are being compensated fairly, because they're not thinking about money strategically at all. But once you understand that every extra $500 a month you earn is potentially $300,000 or $400,000 over a working lifetime, the conversation about your salary stops being uncomfortable and starts being essential. You start asking for raises. You start looking for opportunities to increase your income. You start treating your earning potential with the same intentionality you now apply to your spending. And that combination, conscious spending plus intentional earning, is what actually moves the needle. Not one or the other. Both. Look, the $1,000 rule isn't magic. It's not going to double your net worth overnight. But it is going to do something arguably more valuable. It's going to permanently change the lens through which you see money. And once that lens changes, every financial decision you make from this point forward is going to be a little clearer, a little more intentional, a little more aligned with the life you're actually trying to build. The sticker price is never the real price. The real price is what that money could have become. And now that you know how to calculate it, you can never look at a price tag the same way again. Start small. Pick one purchase this week. Run it through the rule. See how it feels. You might be surprised how quickly the habit sticks. Your future self is already making better decisions. They're just waiting for you to catch up.